Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Planet Film Network. First things first, let us know, does everything sound good? I can see that everything looks okay. Just let us know if everything sounds good. I am one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I'm brother TJ and today, tonight, it's going to be all reviews. So we will be giving our review of Loki Season 2, Episode 3.
Yes,
Episode 3. Killers of the Flower Moon. And our, I guess, in-progress review of Spiderman 2. The PS5 game that came out this past Thursday. But TJ is reverbing. That's no good. Oh, I sound really bad.
Really?
Yes, I just listened to it. It sounded not good.
What?
I sound like a very bad robot.
Is that through your end?
I don't know. It's almost like I have a voice
Modulator
on. Now, don't get me wrong, I've messed with a few things before, but nothing that should be active currently. It's fine now.
It's fine now? Are we good?
Oh, it's good now. Sounded okay now. All right. Totally fine now. Okay, I don't know.
Fine. Okay, I can't even hear it on my end, which is weird.
Yeah, I know. It was just YouTube, it seemed like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully it stays like that. So yeah, Spider-Man 2. But first, as we always do, I think we're going to start off with what we've been watching. So do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Well, I would like to start first and foremost with the show you finally got on the train of.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
I just 7 there's 7 episodes, but the first 3 came out at once, so it only took you like a month.
Right. So I need something to watch like an hour ago for an hour before this. So it's like, oh, you know what? I'll check out Gen V because there's no other shows that I was currently watching that had a new episode or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I put it on, and really good first episode. Lot of shocking moments, I will say. Totally thought Golden Boy was going to be the Homelander of this show. Not the case at all. Dude incinerated himself. Spoilers.
Spoilers for the first episode that came out a month ago. So catch up.
He incinerated himself, when he was talking to I don't know the character's name.
Brink.
But his like really good friend or whatever.
Oh, right.
I was like, "Oh, is he going to kill them all because he's like no witnesses, But no, he just killed himself. She's a bloodbender.
Yeah.
If she gets that thing under control, I mean, I don't know her name. I forgot her name, but
Marie.
Yeah, Marie. That opening scene, that was like just like the beginning of The Boys when A-Train runs through his girlfriend, and you're like, what the fuck is going on,
dude? I think it might be worse. Not to spoil.
No, it's definitely worse.
But
right.
They revisit that scene in the most recent episode, and again, spoilers for the Golden Boy thing, but this is just kind of like the first scene, so I'll leave it fresh for you guys. But if you haven't seen it, but her father's face is like just what the effects and the makeup and stuff that they did is like haunting. Like that image of how like sharp it seems. Oh man, that is a gruesome scene.
It's a theme too with these kind of prime superhero shows where they all have shocking opening episodes.
Yeah.
Invincible does the same thing.
Yeah.
Really good first opening episode. I was, pretty much interested in, I'd say, all the characters so far. Clancy Brown was an interesting character. I didn't know where we were going with him. Obviously, kind of going nowhere now. But unless, I don't know, something happened. But yeah, it just feels like The Boys, but younger, basically.
Yeah.
Lot more I will say male genitalia in this one episode than I think we've gotten in any season of The Boys so far.
I would say I actually might be positive in saying that there is that in every episode.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me.
Yeah.
That's how these shows have kind of rolled.
Yeah.
Um,
But it fits.
and
That they've
it
set
fit.
up the
Yeah, it
tone
works.
where like
It's a college. It works.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And I will say this. I asked you, I think last week, like, is this show a necessity? I said for the boys. After one episode, I think it already kind of not. Maybe it kind of already is. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, they're name dropping a lot of people, a lot of references to Starlight or Maeve or the Seven, Vought, all that stuff. So, I think if you want to watch the next season of The Boys, I think you have to watch this show.
Yeah, and then
personally.
Eric, I think it was Eric Kripke. Yeah, it was. He came out this week and he said that the finale of Gen V will directly hand off to the premiere episode of The Boys season 4, and then
Right.
he even said The Boys season 4 finale will directly hand off to the Gen V season 2. So he said it's going to be a direct handoff. And I mean, obviously you've only seen the first episode. To me, just to kind of touch base with where I'm at with the show, I think each episode just keeps getting better. I mean, maybe like a episode 4 or something is like, oh, this one's kind of a little calmer than the other ones, but they're all still great. Like me and my roommate have both been. We've been watching Gen V. She's been going crazy with Gen V. I think she's watched every episode twice. But she loves the boys and everything like that too. And we're sitting down and starting to watch Invincible as well. But whether it's Gen V, Invincible, Loki season 2, or Spiderman 2, it's like 4 different comic book things that like are either happening right now or I'm like watching right now. They're all so different and they're all so good. Like it's kind of crazy. Like, sure, maybe you could say, the movies are not doing too hot right now, regardless of studio. Mostly the shows honestly have not been doing too well. Obviously when you're talking about shows, really Marvel's the only one besides the Boys universe. But these ones right now that are going all at the same time are really, really good. And I think Gen V literally tops itself every episode. And the characters, I can't remember if you had ever said, had you ever watched Skins, like the show with like Nicholas Hoult and them? Yeah, so I love that show, and it's very British, and like I love British shows and stuff like that. And to go back a couple weeks, we talked about on the show, Hideo Kojima's tweet about this show was he was like, I was worried, will this be Degrassi with superheroes? Will this be some other high school show? Will this be Gossip Girl with superheroes? And I think I've settled on it is Skins with superheroes. And I mean that in like the best way possible, because Skins is a very adult show where it's about young people, but it does not treat them as anything less than actual people with actual lives and relationships that matter and everything. And that's exactly what Gen V is doing. It's these superheroes that are very young, and sure, they're worried about class and they're worried about relationships and stuff, but they have actual stuff in their lives too, and the show treats it like with respect, and they don't treat them like kids and like, oh, look at how petty these people's problems are. And that's just one of my, honestly, in addition to all the awesome boys, ness that's going on, I just really like the characters. And that's something that I was really not sure about, was how I would feel about the characters. I just think that they get better, and I get more attached to them with every single episode.
One question I'll have, and then one prediction that I think is probably a given just from watching that first episode. My first question is, does she cut her hand open a lot in this show? Because that's gonna bother me, because I get very squeamish for that kind of stuff.
Trust me, man. I was like, I had to look away. They definitely show it a couple of times, but I feel like once you kind of get the gist, they kind of skip that part a lot. Like the really graphic one where she's like, that
she was like digging in there.
That only happens once, I think, maybe twice.
I was like, can we get her some like gauntlets full of blood or something, so we'd have to keep doing this.
Yeah. Like the
And-
only other thing is in another episode they show she doesn't cut herself. She kind of
yeah,
like pulls blood out. Like she like forms a thing and like the blood shoots out, which
yeah,
I think is better than having to watch her do it. But again, you know, you'll get into it in literally the next
yeah,
episode. But on top of everything else with the boys, kind of how they do with A-Train, that A-Train's abilities themselves are kind of an analogy for like his drug use and stuff. The character of Marie and the character of Emma, their powers are not just cool powers, they're allegories for real problems that real people face. And I think that that's really great. And obviously one of them is Marie's power is she has to
yeah.
cut
While I was
herself.
watching,
Yeah.
just real quick, while I was watching that too, Marie, I was like, she could be really OP.
Yeah.
Like, you can just mess with somebody's blood. Like, imagine all those things you could do without even like, you know, not having to do anything.
Mhm.
It's like you're just messing, like, because it's not just her, right? Because we saw like she saved that one lady, so obviously it's like any blood she can manipulate.
Yeah. It's anyone else's too. Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing was, which it's probably a given, you know, it's not really a prediction, but that kind of kid that's calling out to, what's his name, Golden Boy. I don't know if they said like that's his brother. I'm assuming that's his brother, who we thought died.
I would say that's accurate.
Okay. That was probably a given, but you know, you never know. Uh-oh. What happened?
I couldn't tell if it was
Heck.
raining or if it was like my headphones were doing something weird with my fan.
Oh.
Sorry. Thought my window was open for a second. But yeah, anything else on Gen V?
No, that's it on Gen V. I'll just run through I only have two other things, so I'll just run through those real quick. Watch Final Destination 2. So you know we'll get to that next week. And I watched Perfect Blue last night.
Oh.
I don't know if I don't want to get into like a whole review.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll have a tough time, because you haven't seen it, right?
No.
I'll have a tough time explaining it and all that stuff because it's really kind of mind-fucky trippy.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't realize it was part horror movie, basically. So it was pretty scary when I was watching it last night. But amazing. I get 4.5 out of 5.
Damn.
Fantastic messaging, themes, how it's shot, all that stuff. I just take off of half because it is a little confusing. But towards the end, there's like multiple points where you know you're thinking something is okay. That's what's real. Oh no, that's not what's real. Oh that's not it. And then even at the end, when what is real happens, you're like, but are we? Is that real? You know, are we in reality or not? But really good. Definitely recommend it. But just don't watch it at 11 o'clock at night. Maybe if Danielle was here, I wouldn't mind it so much, but because I was alone, a little more scary.
Yeah, and then Palpatine showed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, that was it. I forgot.
Yeah, that was it.
You said it was two things. I forgot you said Final Destination 2. I was like, what's the other thing? So I'm gonna run through this list like crazy. So if you watched last week's show, you know I was on vacation from work, and I basically entered what I would call a movie coma. Actually, the immediate day after our last show on Wednesday. Wednesday, I went a little. I want to correct myself. Directly after our show, meaning as soon as I got home from TJ's house, I rewatched Joyride the previous day. And then Tuesday night, I watched X, which my roommate had not seen. I had already seen that, so I watched that. I rewatched Train Spotting. Then when I woke up on the 18th, I was like, all right, we're doing this. And I watched Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Then I watched Ridley Scott's Kingdom of Heaven, which was very, very good. Then I watched Beau is Afraid, which, in my opinion, I did not like as much. I really think that... Did you watch that?
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay, yeah.
I pass it on the library shelf, and I go, maybe not this week.
Yeah, I mean, it is 3 hours. I watched a good amount of 3-hour movies this week, and I'll tell you, not all of them were good. I liked Beau is Afraid a lot in the first 2 hours, like a lot. And then the last hour, more specifically, I would say the last 30 minutes, really just kind of took a nosedive for me. And then
Mm-hmm.
the last
Jeez.
5 minutes, like,
Yeah.
drops into the bottomless pit of
Wow.
hell, basically. And I was like, what are we doing? And I thought that the drop
Literally?
into the bottomless pit of hell, I was like, oh, you're like kind of twisting it. And then it just doesn't
Mhm.
do anything with it. Like,
Oh,
to keep it as spoiler free as possible, it's just like the ending, like that specific, like, last couple minutes. I was like,
Mhm.
what is this? And then it was just kind of
Yeah.
like, never mind.
I feel like that was what people were saying was like, you know, Ari Aster went like to Ari Aster,
Yeah,
and they kind of were
I
like,
didn't think that was
you
possible.
know, the studio was like, yo, do, you know, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm. But again, Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic. A lot of good performances in it. And then I watched Dope for the first time. Rick Famuyiwa's Dope, which I had never seen before. That was really good. Then I watched Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, which I had seen before. Again, really, really good. Then I watched Once Upon a oh my god, I watched Once Upon a Studio, which is that like 13-minute Disney, you know, little short basically on Disney Plus celebrating the 100th anniversary with like 100 characters in it. It was all right. I for some reason I decided to take the time to actually like write and log this on Letterboxd, but I agree with what I wrote. I just said felt like it could have been a little bit more. Felt it was just kind of like, oh, here's the genie and there's one line. And then it was like, also too, and this clip kind of went around, like there is a touching little moment, and you know, if you've watched this show at all, you know I love Mary Poppins and specifically Saving Mr. Banks. And there's a little Saving Mr. Banks reference and a little, you know, Walt Disney moment in this where Mickey like looks at Walt's portrait and you hear the instrumental chords for Feed the Birds from Mary Poppins, which if you've seen Saving Mr. Banks was his favorite song. And it's just kind of like a 2-second thing, and Mickey's like, well, you're dead, but I'll take care of them all. And I'm like, that's kind of it? Like, you're going to celebrate 100 years and you only have like this 4-second moment? It just felt like it was kind of a good idea.
I was going to say 100 years and 9 minutes?
Yeah, exactly. Then, that same day, I watched Goodfellas before we went and saw Killers of the Flower Moon. I then watched Killers of the Flower Moon. Then the next day, I watched Nightmare Before Christmas because that's back in theaters right now. That movie is so good. It's insane. It's 72 minutes, I think. Wow, it's so good. And then, man, these next two movies that I watched, both of them rewatches.
Yeah, this
Oh
one,
my God, I can't believe it. I watched Back to the Future in theaters, which is actually the third time that I've seen Back to the Future in theaters.
I didn't know it came back.
Yeah, it came back because this is Back to the Future week, so it came back on the 21st. And then I believe we're doing another showing tomorrow. I think we're doing another showing tomorrow if you can catch it. And then it's gone until probably next couple years. Man, that movie on the big screen is so good. Like that is just like the most like fist pumping like rah movie. So everybody in it is great. Then I came home and I watched Ambulance. Rewatched Ambulance, and I gotta say, my star rating changed. It just hit me in the right spot, and I was like, wow, Michael Bay he might be the best filmmaker of all time. I don't know.
Okay.
No, I'm just not of all time, but like there is just a level that Jake Gyllenhaal is going to in this. Did you see it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, yeah. So the first time I saw it, I think I gave it 3 stars. This time I gave it 5 stars. That movie is like a 2-hour and 7-minute wall-to-wall absolute thrill ride that is like insane. And like I said, Jake Gyllenhaal is going to a level that is like absolute insanity and mania. And then Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is really good in it too, as is Eliza Gonzalez as kind of basically the main character. She's the main EMT that the movie is kind of following. And just the cinematography and just like one of those, you know, you know how people
So
say
you really
about,
like those drone shots?
see, the first time that was like my biggest sticking point was the drone shots. Watching it at
Mhm.
home, they did not bother me as much.
Okay.
I will say that, because the first time I was like, I was almost like getting ready to get sick in the theater. They were
Yeah.
so like intense and violent. But it just hit me in the right mood. You know what I mean? It just hit me in the right mood, and I was like, wow, this is a really good movie. But I gotta take it back to the library. But who knows? Maybe I'll rewatch it before then. And then just throughout that, I've been playing Spider-Man and watching a little bit of Invincible, kind of throughout there. But that's it. That's all I've been watching, which was a lot. But you know, only because I was on vacation. If I was not on vacation,
Right.
it would not be that much.
All right. So where do we want to start?
Let's
Let's
actually. I
review.
want to take a minute. I just want to talk a little bit about Doctor Who for a second.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's not really a review, and I haven't really thought about exactly the specifics of what I want to talk about, but just this Disney thing is cool, but also I'm a little confused and a little concerned that it's the end of October, and these specials are supposed to start in November, and we've had multiple trailers, but nothing from Disney themselves. And they're supposed to air on Disney Plus, and we have no idea, whether from Disney or from the BBC, we have no idea when the first of these specials is going to air. Like there's no news on that whatsoever. There was a new announcement today, which is awesome, and you should probably check this out because it's going to be very cool. That David Tennant himself, who at this point I think, you know, whether who's your favorite Doctor, who's whatever, I think, would it be safe to say that in terms of the entire history of the show, I think David Tennant has now surpassed officially Tom Baker as, like, when you think of Doctor Who, you just think of David Tennant because, I mean, the guy's been the Doctor now for whatever, and he's kind of like the ambassador of like the franchise. You know,
Well, I would think that too, just because he was. I mean, what year was that?
5 years, yeah, 2005 to
No, I mean
2010.
what year? No, when Tom Baker. When was he the Doctor? How many?
Yeah, I mean, it was like the late 70s or into the mid 80s,
so-
but I just mean for someone who has been there through all of it, it's like, I feel like, you know, if you were ranking doctors in terms of like importance to the actual show, I feel like back in David Tennant's time as the Doctor, you still could have said that it was Tom Baker, but now it's like at this point, David Tennant just like is that show. Obviously, just his small part of it, but like the fact that he keeps coming back and stuff like that. And what I was going to say was the BBC announced today that on BBC One in the UK and then on Disney Plus everywhere else, there's going to be a 4-part special hosted by David Tennant, going through the entire 60 years, interviewing all the living doctors, companions, showrunners, writers that are all still around, you know, the ones that are still around, including, they said, even like David Bradley, who's now, you know, the current actor for the first Doctor. So they announced that there's going to be another 4 specials, like 4 kind of interview documentary specials, going into the 60 years of the show, which is awesome. But again, no release date for any of that stuff. And I'm just like, it's kind of like, I'm excited that it's coming back so soon, like literally next month, but I don't know when. And like, no one knows when. And it just feels very odd to me. But I just wanted to check back in with you too. Are you going to be checking out Doctor Who when it comes back next month on Disney Plus?
I think I'm gonna check out that like special, and I definitely want to check out whatever it is you're talking about. This 4-part series of the the 60 years. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, oh, and also I do have to shout out in chat. Michelle said, I loved Ambulance when we saw it in theaters. That is true. I was very harsh on it at that time, but she loved it right away. She thought it was very, very good. Yeah, I'm very excited. And David Tennant too in the news was talking about. He said that one of the upcoming specials is like, he said it's unlike anything Doctor Who has ever done before. So we'll see if that's true. But
that's crazy.
He did say specifically, he was like, basically, the BBC just told Russell T Davies to just like let him off the leash, like just go crazy, do like, what is your dream thing to do, which is awesome. And then again, this week too, another thing that I'm very happy about, but with no concept of when things are coming or what's going on, Shuri Gatwa started filming his second season as the Doctor. And his first season obviously has not come out yet.
I did see that.
So I was talking to my mom the other day, and I was like, it's crazy. Not her fault, obviously. Not even really Chris Chibnall's fault with COVID and everything else. Like, Jodie Whittaker did like 30 episodes over almost 5 years, and like Shuri Gatwa has already filmed 15 episodes in like the first year, and now he's already on to filming his second season. So it definitely seems like both the BBC and Disney are very like gung-ho about like making this show come back like with a big resurgence, and I'm very happy about that. I just have mixed feelings because I'm just like, I feel like, you know, there's not a lot of communication to the rest of the world of when these are going to be coming out, but that's my bit on Doctor Who. I just wanted to get that out there, but I'll leave it up to you. What do you want to talk about first out of Killers of the Flower Moon, Spider-Man, and Loki?
Let's go Killers first.
Okay, so
do you want to hit?
Oh,
do you want to hit the record button? Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys. So this is if you're watching this on the clip out, this is a clip out from our main live show that we do every Tuesday night. We go live somewhere between 8 and 8:30 p.m. Every single Tuesday. We talk about movies, shows, news, everything like that. And we are going to break down our thoughts on Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm going to warn you right now, there might be some light spoilers, but it is actual events that happen and everything. But I feel like to get into some of this stuff, we're going to have to talk about it. That being said, if you're not going to see the movie, watch this. If you still are going to see the movie, I think still watch this. I mean, if you haven't seen it at this point, you know, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that goes down. But like I said, it's not a big movie that like you can spoil because it's all a matter of actual historical fact. But let's get into it. And we have not really shared our thoughts on the movie. We watched it together, and then we just kind of went our separate ways. I don't even know what you gave it.
You're first.
Oh,
you're
you
going
want me to
first,
go? Okay.
my friend. Yeah.
Honestly, man, I thought about it a lot. I don't really think I like this movie. I don't think it was a very good movie. I mean, I think it was obviously positives. Let's start with positives right off the bat. Cinematography, tick, excellent. Set design, period, costuming, everything like that. Lily Gladstone's performance is incredible. One of my biggest issues with the movie is that she's not in it enough. And I've thought about this movie in such detail and talked about it with so many of my coworkers that I'm like, I have so many like what if scenarios that we are not going to have time to get into all of them today. But just one of them is that movie starts with Lily Gladstone voiceover, and I was like, if you had just carried that voiceover through the whole movie, it's a way of having her presence be felt throughout the movie without actually being necessarily being on screen. I think De Niro's doing a really good job. I think to no fault of his own, I think Leo just feels a little like, whether it's kind of feels like I've seen him do this kind of thing before, or honestly, man, I think I gotta just cut to it. My biggest problem with this movie, I think, is the direction. I really think that Scorsese kind of fumbled this one. I think it feels very unfocused, very I don't know. I think he thinks that he's saying a thing that the movie is not saying. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that actually feel like the movie is saying the exact opposite thing. And that is that, you know, I feel like this movie was touted as this incredible, from the Osage perspective, or not even from, because you got to be honest with yourself, De Niro and DiCaprio are the main characters of this movie. It's not an Osage person. As much as Lily Gladstone is in it, Molly is not the main character. But that it is going to be a movie exploring the Osage perspective. I don't go all the way to it felt exploitative and it felt almost treated lightly. But you know, I think about Goodfellas, and that's the typical Martin Scorsese guy goes into the life of the mob, big, rise to prominence and then the fall from grace. The difference is, and then the cool montages of the mobsters, bumping each other off and stuff. The difference is those are mobsters who are criminals, taking out criminals. Wolf of Wall Street. Everybody loves watching Jordan Belfort get up to stuff. Those are terrible, yes, but they are financial crimes, that he did go to prison for and everything like that. And then otherwise it's him hurting himself in that movie. This movie, I actually got a little upset, like, watching it. There's like a killing montage in this movie, and that's just like really bad people killing civilians. Like, that's it. That's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it really treated it, like I said, I don't think there was intentional malice or anything like that. I just think it really treated it lightly. And to me, that just left me a little unsettled. And then I really think that the ending of this movie, like, frays out and just, like, spirals out into, like, nothing. Go.
Did you like the radio thing?
No, I did not.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I didn't. Listen, I liked it. And, okay, I guess we're going to...
I thought it was a cool idea.
I only had 2 what ifs, and I guess we're going to get into both of them because you did bring up the radio thing. So my idea was to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone, was give Lily Gladstone this, like, you kind of see her get in the hospital and she's getting her strength back and you're doing all this, and it's just to kind of have her sit there and be, like, present. You know what I mean? I give her a big moment in the trial to be, like, either defend her husband or call him out for, something, or have an outburst or something. I'm not a writer, so I'm not gonna say that I know exactly what this would be, but one second, just
sorry.
No, you're fine. Just give her some big moment, and then boom, end the movie and say, and then Molly got everything she wanted and the guys went to prison and it was all good. Then smash cut to black, and then give the real facts on stage. When the end of the movie is he going to testify? Oh, he's going to testify. No, he isn't. Yes, he is. And then 4 seconds later, they're like, actually, it didn't matter anyways because they both went to prison and then they got out and they lived happily ever after.
And nobody cares.
And like, it just felt like that to me. I did like Marty being in it, though. I did like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, that's a very long thing.
No, just a counterpoint about kind of the big moment you're talking about.
Yeah.
She doesn't really... Now, could one argue that her moment is kind of at the end where she wants Ernest to tell her the truth and he doesn't? Where she's kind of questioning him and she gets her answer and she walks away? Could one argue that's her moment, I guess? And I'm not trying to make that argument. I'm just saying. I'm just... playing.
I think that somebody could argue it. I don't think that's a very solid argument. I mean, I feel like even in that scene, I think the characterization of Ernest is another very big issue in this, where I don't know at the end of the day, I don't know if the movie is trying to tell me that this guy was manipulated and feels bad, or if he was not manipulated. If I still don't know that answer. So
I think it's, yeah.
No, go.
I think it was both, personally, watching it. I felt as though he knew what he was doing, but he's also an idiot. And, he loves that money. He said, I love that money, sir. I do. So he knows what he's doing, and I think, you kind of go back and forth with they love each other, but he's also like, yeah, but I want to do this stuff and make money and all the, So I think it's kind of those two counterbalances going back and forth. I'm with you on a lot of those points, I'd say. I think I liked it more than you. I will say I liked it. I didn't love it. For all the things you just said, I do feel like Lily Gladstone kind of takes a back seat about halfway through.
Yeah.
Maybe 3/4, where she's sick for like an hour, it feels like. She's just kind of in bed. An hour. And it's like, okay, where is she? It's like, and even leading up to that, she has some great moments.
Yeah.
But I feel like, like you said, she kind of takes a backseat to De Niro and DiCaprio, and I'm kind of like, well, I want more though. I want more of her. I want more of Jesse Plemons. I feel like I did not get enough of him whatsoever.
Yeah, I didn't talk about him. I agree.
His best scene is, him at the door asking, Ernest, about the murders, and that's about it. It's about pretty open shut case. I mean, these people, what's it called? Incriminate themselves.
Yeah.
Ernest, he's asking Ernest, "Oh, do you know so and so or whatever? Did you tell him to do the murder or whatever?" And he goes, "No, that was like his." I forget what he says. He's like, "Oh, it was him." And then he opens the door and it's that guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, I think we have to have a conversation." For me, honestly, my biggest gripe is it just felt fucking long.
Yeah,
Like,
on top of everything else.
People
absolutely.
are saying, I feel like a lot of people are saying that you don't feel. I really felt it.
Mm-hmm.
I got out. I was like, is it like? I thought it was like 12 o'clock when we got out. We got in at what, 6:45?
Yeah,
I think it was, or 7:10. I think it was. And I was like, it feels like midnight. I feel like I've been sitting in the seat for like 4 or 5 hours. It just
really
didn't.
What it felt like, yeah.
The length, the I don't know. I don't think it was the editing. It just felt really long to me. And I hate to compare it to Oppenheimer, but Oppenheimer, I did not feel that like that was 3 hours.
Yeah.
That flew by. Maybe it's just the nature of the story too we're telling. Like you said, with all the murders, and there's a lot of obviously conversation and stuff in this movie as well. So maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
but
the
yeah,
other
I
thing
did
too,
want.
though. Oppenheimer is all conversation. This is
Right.
I would say you could qualify this as an action movie. I mean, there's violence all over the place, explosions, and it still felt so long.
And I think to go back also to the point of you saying, and I it's not just you, a lot of people said this.
Yeah.
Is the kind of Osage point of view kind of being lost,
Mm-hmm.
And I think the only real moment off the top of my head that is like a big moment where like, obviously everybody knows this is a terrible thing that's happening, but how are they feeling, is when they're kind of in the, I don't know what it was. It's like the big circle and, Ernest is there. And I think it was right after somebody died.
Oh yeah, where he gives the speech about
like the speech. Yeah.
When this money came, we didn't know what was coming with it.
Right.
Yeah. That's
And
a
I
great
think
scene
that's like,
with them. Yeah.
No, exactly. But it's like, well, I want more of that,
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong. It's, I don't know. I think I do agree with you. And again, like I keep saying, I'm sure I've seen a lot of other people say this. It's just, we kind of got lost in the Burkhart, Ernest, and Hale story. And it's like, yeah, but we want to see the Sage story too. Like, we want to see more of that point of view.
Yeah.
And I feel like it just kind of got lost in the 3.5 hours.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that like I've seen people say online like, well, there's only so much time. It's like
3.5 hours.
3.5 hours.
What do you mean it's so much
you could
time?
dedicate an entire hour just to Molly's character. But to answer what you said earlier, I actually think about it. I think her big, to me, what I think if she does get nominated for either, some people are saying lead actress. I don't think it would be lead actress. I think it would be supporting. And again, I feel like the movie did her a disservice of like, she doesn't have that big like FYC moment. You know what I mean? She doesn't have that big like Oscar campaign like, Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, and then like a big they're gonna do the My Color scene, and like that's such a subdued moment, and like I feel like Lily Gladstone brought 100% to this movie, and I feel like the movie like let her down. And to me, honestly, that takes the movie down for me. Like, against everything else, I think that just takes the movie down for me. But I think my personal favorite moment with her is in the trailer. It's that one where she's walking through the train station before she goes to Washington, and she's just seeing all the white people come off the train, and like that's where the direction is like fantastic. Where like you treat these white people as like these almost monsters, like really like but again, just doing that with shots and with staging and stuff is not enough. You need to actually live with the Osage characters and hear them say those things. Don't just like shoot that scene where they're looking frightened at them or something like that. Like, let me actually hear them. Like that other Osage character, I think his name was Henry, De Niro's neighbor, that would like was like depressed and stuff. That was another one that like he had a decent amount of screen time, probably the second most Osage screen time next to Lily Gladstone, in terms of characters, Osage characters. But even he, like, I feel like we barely actually knew that character. We just, like, knew things about him that Robert De Niro would say. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But yeah, it wasn't for me. I really think it was just a miss.
I'm
really,
trying to. There was another thing I wanted
which
to
is
say.
super disappointing. But and like
Um,
Brendan Fraser and like John
That's what I was
Lithgow
gonna
are in
ask
this,
about
like,
you about Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
He's in the wrong movie. I think
he is in the wrong movie. Yeah, and I feel again, I don't think that any of these weird acting choices, like I just said that Leonardo DiCaprio did not do it for me in this movie. You're talking about Leonardo DiCaprio, and I feel like all over the place.
Real quick, people saying that this is Leo's, maybe not a lot of people, but I feel like people have said that this is his best performance. Yeah. I think again, to me, Wolf of Wall Street is his best performance I've seen. And he's not bad. He's not bad. He's very good in this movie. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I saw
stuff he's done before.
Snyder say this too on the hot mic the other day, where he's like, Leo does not play an idiot very well. And I guess, after seeing, I could not believably.
Yeah.
I could definitely agree with that. Like, it's, I don't know. Trying to think if there's anything else. I'm sure there's like a bunch. Again, this movie's 3.5 hours.
My most hyped thing going into this movie was De Niro. I was really hoping that De Niro would like get into this like savage level, like, kind of casino vibe, Goodfellas era of just like villainy. And I felt like the movie didn't let him be a villain. It was like it was like somebody said to him, okay, you're doing all these bad things, but you gotta remember, you're the nice guy. You're the guy that everybody likes, so nobody knows that you're doing this stuff.
Oh, I mean, he's big time Two-Face.
Well, exactly, but what do we get with Two-Face? We get him in private moments, being angry. He threatens Gordon's son, and then nobody knows about it because you have to preserve. Actually, that's a fucking great analogy that you just brought up. You have to preserve the idea of Harvey Dent and not know about Two-Face. There was no Two-Face moment with De Niro in this. He was just happy-go-lucky all the time, even up to the end. And I get that he has to like maintain his innocence or whatever. Yeah. But at a certain point in a 3.5-hour movie, man, you got to drop the act and give me a fucking great Robert De Niro like monologue or something where he's like, listen, you gotta like, we need this money. Stop it. Like, there was never that moment. It was. I
think it's like, more of a. I think his evilness is more of a kind of under the radar, sinister type, planning out evil as opposed to like what you're kind of saying. And granted, could he have used some sort of fiery moment, as again, Brendan Fraser, I feel like kind of acting in a different movie, but he has that kind of, moment where he's like, literally he's yelling at Leo about, he's like, you're not going to testify. And Leo's like, no, I am. And he's like, no, you're not. He's like, okay, I'm not. Which again, this is idiot. He gets manipulated so easily. Yeah. It's like not even like, so I do see what you mean, but I also again thought that it was kind of more of a, it's supposed to be where it's like, I am the mastermind almost to this whole thing.
You know what it is? And I just thought about it.
And he does, and sorry, real quick, he does that thing too where I did like about his character, not liked, but he is also on top of kind of being that kind of, I'm using all these different terms, but puppet master or whatever.
Yeah.
Where he's setting up his own guys to basically walk into their own deaths. So he's tying up all these loose ends. He tells the guy to go rob the place, and then he tells the guy that owns that place, he's like, oh, by the way, I heard you're gonna have a robbery later tonight.
Yeah.
So he basically ends up getting that guy killed. So I did enjoy, again, not enjoy, but like that worked for me. I guess
I agree. I think that all of that was really good. I think what I've settled on hearing you talk now is I think it comes down to the portrayal of the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think to me, I'm like, in reality, this real guy that he's playing was a monster, a like disgusting, murderous, greedy monster, and I feel like Scorsese like should have found a way to show that, even if it's not true to reality, even if he did keep that facade up his whole life and always claimed innocence and stuff. I feel like there should have been some just absolutely like abhorrent, unredeeming moment. And again, he's setting these people up and he's like, you go rob this bank. Hey, I think somebody's gonna rob your bank, and then, you know, he blows them away and stuff. Like, I get all that, but to me, because it's a Scorsese movie, I'm like, you're so kind of patterned and to treat that stuff as like almost like, oh man, this is cool. Like, he's setting that guy up to get killed, and it's like, when in reality, it's like these are like absolutely heinous things that like he's doing. I don't know. To me, it's so hard to put into words like exactly what I'm trying to like get at. I just think
you're not alone too. You know,
no, I know,
these amount of people
and I really just
way.
think it's that. I just think for me, it's like I feel like he lost that. I feel like he lost that thread somewhere in the 3 hours and 36 minutes. He lost that thread of like, you know, yes, he's like playing the kindly old like neighbor and stuff, and that he's trying to keep up appearances, but like, you got to show me that this guy is like evil incarnate.
Yeah, like when he walks in the sheriff's office, he goes, "I'm here to turn myself in."
Yeah,
and the sheriff's like, "No, you know," and he goes, "Slap the cuffs on me." Yeah, I insist.
Again, though, I loved. Again, one positive though about De Niro, like, he's still De Niro. Like, I still love the like when he shows up with the goggles and like, you know, so like when they're in the very beginning.
Are killing me.
Yeah, when he goes, you know, I do like that money, sir, and he goes, oh yeah. He's like it was. What is it? Do you remember? I just remembered he does like that noise. He goes like, ooh, ooh. Do you remember that in the very beginning of the movie? He does like a coyote impression or something. But like,
so you will not be rewatching when it comes to Apple.
I will definitely not be rewatching in theaters. Maybe when it comes to Apple, maybe I'll give it another shot or watch it as like break it up. You know what I mean? As like I do with The Irishman. Like if I'll rewatch The Irishman, I'll usually do it.
More.
Oh yeah. To me, every time I watch The Irishman, it gets better. To me, I'm worried I'm either never gonna rewatch this movie ever. Or I'm going to rewatch it and I'm just going to hate it even more. Not that I hate it. I'm just going to find more to dislike about it even more.
Yeah.
But
all right, so star rating for you?
I gave it 3 out of 5 because it's still a really good made movie.
3.5 out of 5. That's the review.
There you go. Let us know, what did you guys think of Killers of the Flower Moon below. We got into this nice little discussion here about it, but we want to know, what do you guys think? Are we crazy? Believe me, I know a lot of people that I work with that are like, what are you talking about, man? This movie is incredible. I'm talking 5 out of 5s, 4.5 out of 5s. And then if you, let alone the people I know, if you look at the internet, tons of people are saying that this movie is incredible. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're in the total minority. Maybe, you know, you think you got a totally different impression of the movie. Let us know down below. Make sure to like, comment, share this video with somebody else who saw Killers of the Flower Moon so that we can get their thoughts on it as well. Till then, thank you guys so much for joining us for this part of the review. All right. What do we want to get into now?
I'm thinking Loki.
Thinking Loki? All right.
Yeah.
I got some good thoughts on Loki. I gotta
hit
say,
the record button.
Yeah, we'll have you go first on this one. You want to lead it in too?
Yeah.
All right. In 3, 2, 1.
All right. What's up, everybody? We are back with another Loki review. Today we're going to be reviewing season 2, episode 3 of Loki. 1893 is the title. So I'm going to give my initial thoughts on this episode. I liked the episode, from what I recall, because it was a few days ago that I watched it. Liked it a lot. I liked the introduction of Victor Timely, finally, you know, kind of in like a full length, I'd say, episode. You know, we saw him at the end of Ant-Man. And again, I think they've done a great job of making any sort of Kang variants or uh, um, what's the guy? What's the guy at the end of the season 1?
He Who
uh,
Remains.
He Who Remains, like any of those kind of people or characters menacing. I'll be honest. I just at the end of I'm just confused. Okay, I'm confused on where we are going. You know, we have Renslayer who's after we're after Renslayer who's after Victor Timely. We have Miss Minutes who is also seems to kind of have a separate agenda. So we have Renslayer with an agenda, Miss Minutes with an agenda, and then we have Loki and Mobius. I almost said Morbius. Mobius with another agenda. So I'm confused. I think I might need some explanation from you. Renslayer, what is our goal here with Renslayer? Why do we need Victor Timely?
First, I just want to give my sentence thoughts on this, which is compared to the last thing we talked about, I fucking loved this episode. I thought this was easily the best of this season so far. Mm-hmm. Maybe my third or second favorite of the whole show. First of all, you gotta, obviously, let's just say it and get it out of the way. Whatever's happening with Jonathan Majors, this has been a very long and protracted, drawn-out court proceedings and everything. Hopefully, the truth comes out. Whatever happened, whatever it does, we can move forward with whatever. We're dealing with the reality of he is in this show. He is acting in this show. He is a big, big element and a big character in this show. That being said, I loved this episode. I thought that Jonathan Majors was great. I think this is my favorite portrayal of a Kang that he has done so far. And then just to kind of roll into what you're talking about, man, I feel like the exact opposite. I'm like, I think I can see through the Matrix and I can see through the fabric of the universe here, or the MC universe here. I think this whole thing, and we talked about it after the first episode where Loki, you kind of see Loki prune himself and Sylvie's in the elevator and everything like this. And there's a great, and I believe this before that video because it's there if you look into it, so it's no surprise that they made a video about it. I would recommend to you and to anyone watching this to go check out Screen Crush's video on their kind of theory of where all of this is going. If I can remember in my brain when I post this review, maybe I'll throw it in the description. I think that what's the title of the first episode? Ouroboros. Ke Huy Quan's character's name, Ouroboros. Ouroboros is a also known in actual astrophysics as retrocausality, which is a big, essentially not necessarily a time loop, but a grandfather paradox where the thing to make the thing has to happen in order for the thing to be able to happen.
Okay.
I think you don't get a Kang ever in all of the multiverse if Ravonna Renslayer doesn't put that TVA guidebook into his window.
Okay.
And you can't get Ravonna Renslayer to put that TVA guidebook into his window without a Kang running the TVA to send her there.
Okay.
I think that what he said in the first season finale of, if you kill me, this is all just going to restart and we'll be back here anyways. And then what's the last thing he says to Sylvie? See you soon. I think that he knows that he dies, sends Miss Minutes and Ravonna back in time to give the TVA guidebook to his young childhood self. So that then Loki and Sylvie can go and fight him, and then Loki can bring him back to the TVA so that then he can take over the TVA. I think that the Victor Timely we meet in this episode is the Kang from Ant-Man and is He Who Remains. I don't think there's Kang variants, but I think in terms of the MCU's Kang, I think that we just saw the He Who Remains from season 1 how he first gets to the TVA. And that is very confusing.
Yeah.
And I get that. And I don't know
so,
if everybody's going to keep along with that, but that is what I think is happening.
And I think for me, it was always as though the season 1 He Who Remains Kang variant, whatever, it always seemed to me as though he was protecting everybody from the other variants. So now what you're telling me is, well, actually,
I think that's all true.
Okay, but like, well, then what am I afraid of? Which one am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Am I afraid of Victor Timely as He Remains and the guy who takes over TVA, or am I afraid of the variants?
I think you're afraid of the variants. So what I'm saying is, I think...
Sorry, real quick.
Yeah, no,
he always seemed like in season 1, he was in that one episode, I think, or 2 episodes,
just
whatever
one,
it is. He came off very, I feel like, kind. Is that just me? Like, he didn't seem menacing whatsoever, really.
Yeah, but you gotta keep in mind that, like, what I'm saying, and this is, like, very out there, but, like, what I'm saying is, like, I think that the Victor Timely that is in this episode, like, 6 billion years later, or whatever it is the guy from season 1. And it's after all of his experience. Like, I think that Victor Timely from 1893, when he goes into the TVA portal at the end of this episode, whatever the events happen there, I think that he is going to get into the TVA, take it over, wipe everyone's memory, and then the whole pattern resets itself. When Loki was time slipping into the past, and you see He Who Remains everywhere, I think that that's how it was in the past. Man, saying this out loud, I sound like a crazy person to myself. So please let me know if you're not, like, following along with me. But, like, that's what I think is happening. I think that he goes from Victor Timely goes to the TVA with Loki. Loki loses control. Victor Timely takes over the TVA, builds statues and murals of himself everywhere, wipes everyone's memories, and I think that it all repeats itself. I think that the Ouroboros, time loop, I think that the whole TVA is one big time loop, is that the TVA has to be destroyed so that Kang can die, so that once the TVA is destroyed, Ravonna Renslayer can go back in time and make sure that Victor Timely gets the TVA guidebook and gets to the TVA so that Kang can take over the TVA. And then I think somewhere along that line, Ant-Man happens and the multiversal war happens and he meets Janet and all that. Because I think that when he goes, this is it, what does he say? Like the culmination of all my life's research, and he has that little orb thing. I think that is the probability matrix thing that he had in Ant-Man. I think that's the orb that he's been trying to get to work. And clearly he can design all this TVA stuff, but he's not going to be able to enact any of it until he gets to the TVA. And then once he gets to the TVA and has TVA technology, then I think it's all bets are off. Then he builds the purple suit. He does the telekinesis, maybe because he saw Loki use telekinesis against him and he went, that would be handy to have. I think he gets, builds the time chair so that he can go on away missions from the TVA. And then I think the multiversal war happens, all of this stuff. Because, the Victor Timely is on the stage. He has a little mini temporal loom. So it's like, who built the loom at the TVA if it wasn't Victor Timely? That's what I think. Again, this is crazy, and I really hope that the show pulls it off. It is. Yeah. It is really kind of a mind loop. But like I said, that Screen Crush video really just sets it out so nicely and makes you really able to understand it. But that is what I think, and I think that it's all leading to, and like Miss Minutes says, originally I was just a basic AI. I don't know if that's true. I think maybe this Miss Minutes. Because all these TVA agents, they all think that their memories started at a certain point. But I don't think that that's when their memories started. I think that's when their memories were restarted. I think he goes in and wipes everyone's minds, maybe every couple thousand years, wipes everyone's minds, resets the TVA so that he can start all over again. And sometimes it's him, sometimes it's the timekeepers. I think that it's basically whatever he wants it to be. I just think, but then I think totally outside of the TVA, I think in other multiverses, there are the other Kangs. There is the Council of Kangs. And I think that it's more so that, I don't know if the Rama Tut Kang that we see in the post-credit scene of Ant-Man, right? I don't know if that guy has a TVA. I think we've been thinking about all this, wrong. You know what I mean? I don't think that it's every Kang has a TVA. I think it's just this is the TVA. But, I don't know. It's very, very hard, but I love it. I love everything that's going on in this show.
So just getting off that whole thing.
Yeah. I just
I thought the whole kind of Miss Minutes thing was really cool in the episode.
Yeah.
This episode, obviously you talking about the whole AI thing, but kind of seeing her have these emotions as well and feelings towards Victor Timely, which is very odd. And then her putting her face on that mannequin as though creepy. She was I need a real body. It got really, really creepy for me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. So what'd you think? Probably around the same.
I thought all that stuff was great. I thought everything with Miss Minutes was really, really good. I liked everything with Ravonna that they were kind of going. Also, another thing that, again, the runtimes don't bother me as much as other people, but this episode was 58 minutes. Without credits, it was 51 minutes of actual episode. And that's pretty great for one of these Marvel shows to have a 50-minute episode. I thought it all went really, really well together. I just really like where everything is going, and I hope they pull through. I hope that everything lands, because it would be a real shame if it kind of all fell apart. But,
oh, jeez.
yeah, I'm just really, really excited to see where this is going, because if they can pull this off. And this episode was really the first time that I was wow. To answer your question from earlier, this episode is the first time that I went, wow, this Kang guy, this Victor Timely, he is kind of slippery. He is con man. To me, if this guy, as bumbling as he is right now at the start, if he gets a hold of the tech in the TVA, I feel like he could be unstoppable.
I did think that was interesting how, he does the whole presentation and it's wow, all this stuff is so cool. And then it turns out none of it really works.
None of it really. It's he can't actually.
Right.
It's
because
he
none
can't
of it has
enact
been
any of his actual designs. Yeah.
Right. Or even again on top of that too, he's kind of he's a pretty good, I guess, salesman in a way. The guy with the pants. And he's oh, it's gonna make you tall. He's they're not working. He's and he's ducking down. He's well, I don't know. You look taller than me right now. Yeah, all that was really cool. I think it did. It kind of sucked maybe a little bit that Loki and Mobius took a bit of a back seat. I feel in this episode. But
that being said, though, I still think the beginning where they were mainly in was great.
Yeah.
Everything. No, I agree. Seeing Odin and Thor and that.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and it's again, it's
and
just
that Balder kind of.
Yeah, and it you know what it really made me think, and because I feel we are getting to that point now where I think, I do think that Loki is only going to be a 2-season show, because they talked about how they wrote it as 12 episodes, and that they talked about a couple weeks ago that they were this is not going to be a season 2 finale is a cliffhanger like season 1. The season 2 finale is the end of the story that we've been telling since the season 1 premiere. And that makes me happy to know that it's all plotted out and it's all thought through and everything. And I think we are getting to the moment, and I think this little scene with him looking at the statues of Thor and everything, I do think eventually we're going to see them back on screen together. And I think that they're starting to lay the groundwork of hey, he's doing all this TVA stuff, and he's going to help bring down Kang. and Loki is this really big multiversal kind of important figure now, but he is also still Odin's son and Thor's brother, and like that is a very important thing to this character still. And then they kind of hang a lantern on it with Mobius going, sometimes I forget you're actually one of these guys. You know what I mean? And I love that. We've been talking about that
I
since
do love
episode 1.
it's like all these carvings. It's like Thor, Odin, Balder.
Yeah, and it's like,
It's like,
yeah,
where am I?
yeah, exactly. I love that. But yeah, and then I just thought that was everything with them was great. And yeah, I'm just really excited to kind of see where this is going. And again, I just think it feels very thought out, which is why I have so much hope that like they're gonna do some really cool, like, I don't know if you want to call it a reveal or whatever, but I do think that we are leading to. I think they're going to reveal that this Victor Timely guy is the Kang the Conqueror, and he also is He Who Remains. You know what I mean? I think it's just one of those things that, we're going to have to let it see how it unfolds. Another thing I remember that helps to that is, remember in episode 1, in the past, Loki hears that recording of Kang going,
Right.
Miss Renslayer, you've been extremely helpful to me.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I think that is like the Victor Timely and Ravonna that we just saw in this episode.
Right.
I think that's the two of them talking to each other.
Yeah. Did you see like the theory that Ravonna was like a Kang variant or something?
No, I didn't.
No, that's all I
that
saw.
would
I didn't see anything past that, but I
be
could be
interesting.
wrong. But yeah, so I'm interested to see where Ravonna and Miss Minutes go from here, because they're kind of stranded now at the end of time.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is again in this video, you know how the what do they call it? The Time Palace or whatever? What was the name for that? Like his little mansion at the end of time?
Yeah.
Or the Citadel of Time. How the Citadel has that Japanese technique where it has like the gold to repair it all.
Mm-hmm.
So they said in that video, they were like, well, maybe it's repaired because it's crumbled before. And then Kang puts it back together. And then in this episode, when they go there, it's crumbling down again. So he's like, maybe when Victor Timely gets there, he puts it all right again. And that's why it's been broken and then repaired and broken and repaired all, over and over and over again. Man, I just really hope that they can like do this.
Stick the landing.
Yeah, stick the landing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But again, I don't have any, I really don't have any doubt that they're going to be able to, because at this point, the show has delivered 9 incredible episodes over the past 2.5 years that are really, really good. So, I don't know. What else? There's like so much that is in this episode too. I like the little, him running around and trying to get away from the like robber baron guys. Like I thought that was interesting. And again, I do really like Jonathan Majors in this episode.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Maybe the kind of bear guys I might have been able to do without.
It was a little like Benny Hill at the end, like running around with each other, like,
He went out the window.
Yeah. Nobody went around the building to check.
We didn't even get to see Loki and Mobius ride on the bike.
I know, yeah. Well, maybe they're setting up for a jet ski.
Oh, yeah, that could be it.
But yeah.
All right.
I thought it was great.
That's our review.
Yeah. Guys, let us know, what did you think of this most recent episode of Loki? Let us know down below. And until then, we will catch you guys in the next video. All right. Yeah, I just like, you gotta watch that Screen Crush video, because it's just like, I was already thinking that, and then they just like lay it all out so like, oh my god, I do think this is actually where they might actually be going with this. All right, let's talk some Spider-Man.
Spider-Man 2.
Again, I figure we'll probably go. Do you want to do spoilers or?
I mean, you're farther than me, so.
Well, what was the last thing that you did?
Last thing I did
just like
was I beat. It's not. This isn't a spoiler. I beat Mr. Negative because he's in the game. People know he's in the game.
Oh, okay, so you still don't have Venom.
Correct. actual Venom, no, I don't.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, let's. Well, I think we can. Then let's say spoilers for the first half of the game. Let's just do spoilers
Okay.
for up to where you're at.
Okay.
And you kind of take the lead with like going into specifics, I would say, because I don't want to accidentally say anything that's like.
Good idea.
Yeah. All right. All right, guys. Welcome back again to the Planet Film Network. Again, this is another clip out from our show PFN Live that we do every Tuesday night. We're going to talk a little bit about the story so far, the game so far of PS5 Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac Games. TJ, how you been liking this? Like, I would say some slight spoilers only for about the first half of the game and forward, because neither of us have actually finished the game yet.
This is an in progress review, I'd say. Yeah, so I've been playing it pretty much daily since I got it, and I'll tell you what, I love this game. I think it's definitely a big improvement from the first one. As far as not improvement, I guess it's a lot of the same, but also things tweaked to make things even better. As far as either the combat goes, the swinging, the story I think is great so far. Everything, I love. I'm playing on fidelity or performance. Sorry, I'm playing on performance. I started on performance and I switched to fidelity. And I didn't think it looked that good, personally. It still looked good, but I don't know if I was expecting more. The cutscenes I think look great. But when you're actually swinging around everything, I was like, yeah, it looks fine.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went down to 30 FPS, I was like, oh no, I need the 60 now, because I saw it, so I was like, oh, I need the 60 back. So I've just been playing on performance, basically the entire time. All the story beats so far, I've loved. I'm not really exactly sure where they're going, I'll say, and I'm sure this is based off a comic that already exists.
Theories.
Probably.
I might know the answer. I won't say anything.
I will throw out theories.
Yeah.
I was going back and forth.
Farther than TJ is, just for the.
Yeah, I was doing like, and again, I don't think a Green Goblin is in this game, but I was kind of predicting like when they eventually probably do with Spider-Man 3, if maybe they go with a Harry as a Goblin as opposed to Norman.
Cool, yeah.
Which I think is a possibility.
Or you could do both. You could just have both Osborns be like the villain of the third game. That would be awesome.
Right. I've been really interested with Kraven as well as a villain, just to see kind of. I wasn't really sure going in like what the point is, and I'm still not quite sure if I know what his kind of end goal is. But to see him kind of hunting these big game, villains and actually murdering them. Like, I didn't think that was gonna happen. Like, Scorpion dead, Vulture dead. I thought that was pretty crazy to see.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe he catches Mr. Negative again. I don't know. And I think, not to be all positive, a qualm I have, I think, and I felt this from the beginning, where the story, while I do love it, I feel it feels very large. And I don't know if, and again, the game is called Spider-Man 2, but there are 2 Spider-Men in this game, and I feel as though maybe Miles is getting the short end of the stick, personally. Maybe that improves in the second half of the story, but as of right now, I feel like we are very much caught up on Mr. Negative, Mr. Negative, Mr. Negative, Mr. Negative. And I'm like, okay, now what? Where are we going from here? We've kind of solved that. Now what are we doing? Are we just going to be the sidekick? Or are we going to, is there more here, And then this is another really small kind of qualm or critique I have, is I'm a big fan of the stealth things. So, Batman, you have a lot of the stealth kind of swinging, gargoyle to gargoyle, picking up people and stuff. Spider-Man's the same thing, but they got rid of some of the fun little you could electrocute like some dudes. You could do some of these little things when you were stealthing that I don't think you can do anymore. And it kind of, I don't know why they got rid of that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is that just me?
No,
Okay.
to
No, yeah.
jump in. I agree with a lot. Actually, I agree with literally everything that you've said.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I feel like it is harder to pull off extended stealth. Like in the first two games, because I was playing a lot of the first two games
Mhm.
in like the weeks leading up to this. Um,
Yeah.
so much so that I was worried early on in this game that it was gonna be so different that I would be like, well, what the hell is this? Because it's not like, where's the gadget
Yeah.
wheel? Where's the the
Right.
like you
I
said.
like the gadget wheel. I feel like people didn't like it. I liked it. I don't know.
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm so far into this game now. I do like this system as
Yeah.
well, but it is a different system. It is
Oh
totally
yeah.
different. And
I still get the two sides mixed up.
Yeah, I still get a little like I feel like it's not as intuitive, but also then again, you got to keep in mind, we've been playing the previous game for either 5 or 3 years respectively. So it's like we're kind of more familiar with how that game works and everything. This is brand new, so I got to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, overall I feel, again, just to go slightly negative to this like incredible game. I do think they did away with some like quality of life stuff.
Mhm.
That was really nice to have in the first game. Like I did like the gadget wheel, and I liked that. I liked more so in the first game and the second game, like the suit powers. I liked
Mhm.
that better than like this like suit tech thing
Yeah.
where you're just kind of like upgrading slowly as you go. Um and I do, but at the same side of the coin, I do like the like tokens, the like city tokens and hero tokens
Mhm.
and stuff.
Yeah, same.
I think that's an interesting thing that like, because I find it keeps the game interesting to me when I'm doing the side quests. As I go, okay, I just did a bunch of stuff, let's see what I can upgrade, and then I go, oh man, I have like 25 hero tokens, but I have like 4 city tokens.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, all right, I gotta go back out. I gotta go back. I gotta hit the streets again and start. I gotta start checking for stuff. So I like that element. And then in terms of the story, I do think it feels very big, like way big, like massive compared to the other two. And again, we're not just talking about the map, which is twice as big. It's just like it really just feels like this daunting, humongous like scope that is crazy. And I would, to clarify even further, I would say I am considerably farther than TJ is, and I agree with the Miles thing. I really feel like the main story in this game, and again, you could say, well, that's to be expected because the main story in this game is dealing with a lot of past Spider-Man villains, and Miles just recently became Spider-Man. So, a lot of them have more direct connections with Peter rather than Miles. But it's like Peter, I'll be like, oh my god, what is gonna happen with his and MJ's relationship, and him and Harry, and how does Norman play into this? And he's still dealing with the loss of May and all this, and then it's like, oh, and then Miles is dealing with a guy who's doing graffiti. Or like
Yeah.
Miles, like there's a side quest where it's like, I'm helping
Yeah.
a guy as Miles, I'm helping a guy, or ask somebody to homecoming, and I'm like, it's nice, but I do feel, and then there's a lot of like, I'll just like, Peter's in this epic like cinematic, and then he goes, I need Miles' help, and then Miles comes in, and he goes, that's Venom? Whoa, he's big. And it's like it's like Peter is like going through this like crazy like experience in his life, and then like you said, he doesn't necessarily feel like the sidekick, but at the same time he does kind of feel like the sidekick in this game. And again, I still feel like I'm not achieving the right balance of
You said
who I'm
that,
going
yeah.
with. And I think I think it would be crazy to fool yourself into saying that this game is 50-50 between the two of them. I think
Oh
it is.
no,
I think it is
yeah.
definitely. I would say it's definitely mainly Peter's game, and
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
and again, it's like
but again,
I'm not
I
mad at
think
that. Like,
they're
but
kind of affected by that because of the story they're trying to tell. I mean,
yeah,
again, it is so big. Uh, we saw the trailers that were like, okay, Venom's going to be in it. But then it's like, okay, well, Craven's going to be in it. But then Craven is also hunting down all these past villains.
yeah,
So then you have Lizard, you have Vulture, you have Scorpion, you have Mr. Negative.
yeah.
You have all these characters, and you have to kind of condense it into this tighter kind of story. So obviously, someone's kind of gonna get kind of pushed to the side. And I do enjoy what they're doing with Miles as a character, but like you said, it's just like it's definitely more of a Peter centric story.
And like, have you done any of the Mysterio stuff yet?
I've done 2 of those.
So like that's like Mysterio in this game. That is one thing that is exclusive to Miles. Like to do all the Mysterio stuff.
Yeah.
Mysterio is 100% a Miles villain in this game, which is cool. That's very cool that Miles has that. But they're all optional side quests. You know what I mean? None of them, nothing. Mysterio is not a part and has no impact on the main story so far. I mean, maybe he does in the end or something, or closer to the end. Because I am farther than TJ, but I'm not at the end. So maybe he does come back or something. But like I was just thinking too, it's like, maybe like Vulture or maybe Craven could have hunted the Prowler, and then that would be a way that like Miles could get in like very personally in the fight against Craven. And then to be honest, I think Miles, there is one mission in particular that Miles has to face someone that is very challenging for him to face.
Yeah. Am I not there yet?
No, you're not there yet. But like,
oh, okay.
It's
thought that would have been the Mr. Negative fight.
it's very interesting. Like, and that's probably you're almost there. Like you're pretty close. But like that's a really interesting one. You probably actually are gonna play that tonight, to be honest. But like that fight was very interesting and it was very cool. But like for me now, that's like 6, 8, 10 hours ago. And I'm like, I'm literally just, every time I switch to Miles, his mom's just like, oh, make sure you check out the bodega so that we can, and then they're like, oh my God, somebody's robbing the bodega. And I get it. Maybe the intention was like big epic stuff for Peter, and then like being the friendly neighborhood
Miles
Spider-Man.
is the neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying that that's like a knock on the game. I just think that's very much what the game is. Like it very much feels like Miles is making sure that nobody is like getting forgotten during all of this chaos.
It does feel like you could have gone in a Spider-Man 3 just to try and condense it even more. You maybe put like the Venom in Spider-Man 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
But they already teased it in Spider-Man 1, so it's kind of like I feel like you kind of have to do it now.
And I will say overall, like just like the first 2 games, really is they do a really good job. Huh. I just thought to myself, I just went, who was the villain in Miles Morales? How come they're not in this? Tinker. And then I remembered. and then I remembered what happened. But like the first 2 games, there's kind of like a villain for the first half of the game and then a villain for the second half of the game. And I feel like within that, with Venom being the villain for the second half of the game, I think it does that very well. Like I think I will say that Craven, I'm not going to tell you that Craven's story is wrapped up, because it's definitely not wrapped up, but kind of how that kind of handoff happens is very, very cool. Kind of the same way that, the first Spider-Man game, you're like, oh, Mr. Negative is the main villain, and then like the last 8 hours is like, oh, psych, Doc Ock is loose on the city. Yeah, and then Doc Ock is very much, the main villain of that first game. So I think it's doing that really well again. And then I'm thinking too, maybe when DLC, storylines come out like they did with the first game. Maybe there'll be some big, heavy Miles DLC and stuff. And then again, I think, like you said, they already said that they are definitely doing Spider-Man 3. So, maybe that'll be more Miles focused. I would love to see it take some inspiration from the movies. Bring Spot in. Have Spot be a big villain in Spider-Man 3 or something. Or somebody else. Just make somebody else a Miles villain. You know what I mean? Miles has been around for 10 years in the comics.
Going back to real quick on Mysterio. Was Mysterio a villain in either of the last two?
No, he wasn't in it at all.
Okay, so it's established already that Mysterio is Mysterio, basically.
Yeah. That's another thing, too, actually, that I really love about all three of these games is that they just, like this universe, this Spider-Man universe has just been chugging along for a decade.
Oh, yeah.
When we joined in. I love that. And I got a little confused with the Lizard because I literally just finished Spider-Man PS4 or PS5 remaster. I watched the end of that, and Dr. Connors is in that as Dr. Connors with one arm and as a scientist.
Right.
And then I went, wait a minute, but in the first game, he talks about fighting the Lizard years ago. And I was like, how does that make sense? And then this game explains it. It's like he was the Lizard for many years, and he's already rehabilitated. Like, I like that there's so many villains that, like, it's kind of that No Way Home thing where in No Way Home, like, Peter's whole thing was, no, we have to save these guys. I don't care what they did. Everybody deserves a shot at redemption. This game, especially Spider-Man 2, feels a lot like No Way Home in that respect, where it's like, no, all these guys, no matter what they did, they deserve to be given a second chance. You know what I mean? If they're going to take it, they deserve to be given a second chance. Like what where you just left off with Mr. Negative. So I really like that in this game. But, the gameplay itself, I do really like now that I've gotten used to it. It's still a little confusing to me on how certain abilities recharge and when they recharge. One thing that I don't like that they definitely made harder is that you can't heal until you have a full focus bar. Whereas in the last two games, it was if you had any amount of focus. If you had any amount of focus, you could heal. So even if you had like a little sliver, you could get that like 10 HP back. But
do you find yourself like losing a lot of health? Not like because you can't play the game.
This game feels much harder than the first two.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
okay,
like much harder.
Yeah, I was like, damn, I'm getting got right now. And I was like and sometimes I'm like, oh man, I gotta like do like 3 dodges in a row.
Yeah.
Before I can heal, And it's definitely tough if you're not upgrading that.
And now there's the parry system in this too that the previous games didn't have. Yeah. And that's always been hard for me. In all video games, parries have always been hard for me. Luckily in this one they do the nice big like white, yellow, red, like hit the button.
Yeah. There's blue too.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, you can't parry it.
Yeah, you have to dodge.
Yeah. Trying to think, there was another thing. Oh, another thing I really, really like that they improved from, and I don't know if it was like this in Miles Morales, but you don't have to. One, there's the kind of like you're swinging around and you get like the red triangle, the big like danger thing, and you go do it. Those are kind of, you want to do them, fine. You don't, no big deal. You don't have to do those.
Yeah, because all they give you now is tech parts, which like just the basic tech parts, you can get those
like
anywhere.
To get.
Yeah, whereas before it was like if you don't finish all of those and if you don't get the bonuses, you're like not even playing the game. What are you doing?
Right. And then speaking to the kind of completionist that I'm not a big kind of platinum trophy hunter, but I will be platinuming this game.
Yeah.
All those kind of side quests, they're not really ranked except for the Mysterio ones, but even those you don't have to get a gold to get the trophy, It's just finish it. Yeah. Or get, I think it's probably at least bronze maybe, which is, the easiest to get. That I really, really like. I'm glad they kind of did away with that from the first game, because some of those would be I can't really remember any of the specific side quests, but if you mess one thing up and it messes your whole run up, you got to restart the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean it's like Harold's Pigeons. Remember that one? Like with the Harold's Pigeons. Yeah. It was like if you didn't catch the pigeon fast enough, you'd get silver, and then it'd be like,
Yeah.
well, try again.
You need
It's
gold.
like, what?
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Something I really enjoy the wingsuit. I really,
Oh yeah,
really
the
love
flight,
the wings.
the traversal is crazy.
I think that's awesome. And it feels, I don't know what it is. It just feels really good to kind of go through those rings and get the speed, the
Yeah.
speed up, especially when you're chasing the robot birds through the city.
Yeah.
I am shocked at how good the wings, like when you're flying like that, controls. Because sometimes like those
Yeah.
birds are like going like this, and you can really just kind of keep in the thing, and it feels really good to do, honestly.
It feels so satisfying.
Right. There was I really enjoyed the kind of catapult things that they brought. To get to either like cross through like the big river, or even just like as one of the upgrades, like if you're standing on the street, you can just like catapult yourself up. I think that is like so cool. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's it. I don't know if I have anything else to kind of touch on here.
I mean, in general, I just think this game is like fantastic.
Actually, one question I do have for you, I guess, then, just to give me don't say anything. Give me a gauge though. So I beat Mr. Negative. So am I nearing that kind of switch?
Yeah, you probably have like 2 or 3 more missions.
Oh wow.
Because
okay.
Miles has to have that big fight.
Right. Yeah, like
and
what
then,
you're saying. I don't know who we're fighting.
I think there's only 2 more missions after that.
Yeah. I do find it interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I do. I kind of like it where it's kind of, as of right now, it's forcing me kind of to just do the story, because like I said to you, Miles is trapped and Peter has to go find him. And it's like you can't switch to Miles because he's trapped and you have to go find him. So it's like, well, just do the story. So don't do any of the side missions.
So you got to you got to the conversation between Peter and Mr. Negative, or
no? No, I haven't got it. That's next. That's
okay, yeah, I was gonna say that you're like 4 seconds away from that. Then if you immediately after the fight with Miles. So immediately after the Mr. Negative fight with Miles. So
now real quick again, just to kind of clarify, did Miles like steal his energy?
I think
so.
It seems like
okay.
It. Yeah, I think it was just a way to because very obviously in the movies Miles's electricity is blue, but in the games it was yellow. I think it was just a way for them to get the game to be blue now, because now his electricity is blue. Like not that I'm mad at that, but I think it was just like I think you absorbed his energy. You have like negative electricity, so it's blue now. That's crazy. Oh, another thing that I love. We got to talk about the spider bots. What's going on,
the spider
man?
bots are cool. Yeah.
Have you looked up at the sky ones?
The sky ones?
Like, have you figured out what's going on?
No, I don't think so.
How many of them have you collected?
At least half.
Oh, okay. Then you probably just either weren't paying attention or don't remember.
Oh, maybe.
I think they're like setting up Spider-Verse. Like all those bots have Spider-Verse.
Yeah, they're all like different. I thought it was just like a cool little like
No, I mean I'm saying like find one that's in the sky, look at it. It's the octagon portal from the movie, like the literal same portal. And Genki's like, the message is coming from the same signal that we use, but there can't be another Spider.
Right? Yeah, I heard him say it. Yeah,
like
that.
I think it's literally like I think they're literally teeing up that like maybe at the end of this game, I have no knowledge of this.
This Spider-Man was in Spider-Verse, so
yeah, exactly. Like I'm literally wondering now if maybe this game ends with a handoff to Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like maybe one or both of our characters are gonna go. Maybe that's a way that you can do another game. Is maybe at the end of this game, maybe the reason he was in Across the Spider-Verse is maybe this Peter gets sucked out into the multiverse, leaving this Miles alone.
Oh my god, yeah.
That would be and again, if that happens, I am nowhere near that. So if that is what happens, I am not saying that as like something I know. But I mean, clearly something is happening with the Spider-Verse because that's where all these guys are from. I mean, there's Spider-Ham, Spider-Man Noir. If you haven't played with the Spider-Man Noir skin yet, by the way, that is awesome.
No, I haven't like purchased it yet.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
But last
I
thing.
just love it.
Last thing I want to talk about real quick is the MJ missions. Much improved in this game.
Much improved. MJ overall is much improved.
Yeah, I did not even realize they changed her model as well as Black Cat.
Yeah, Black Cat. I mean, I noticed that MJ was different just because the hair was different and it looks more like the actress now. Black Cat, I noticed like immediately. I was like, she looks very different. Like it's a new suit, different body.
She just popping out of the Sanctum too,
dude.
I laughed at the Wong.
I really thought for a second that they were about to do some crazy shit.
So did I.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is about to happen? And then, but the Wong, the little Wong shout out, little Wong cameo was great.
Yeah.
Like just adding to, man, if this game had come out on schedule, that would have been one more thing in the 2022 year of Wong when he was in everything in that like year and a half.
Yeah.
Man, gotta love Wong. If they ever bring Wong into this universe, which I don't think they ever will because I think the Avengers might just be dead at this point. Like I think that's just
people like where are the Avengers during all this?
I think that's just so funny.
Up.
It's like,
my God,
like, just accept it. Like it's funny that they could have done the games could have been exactly the same with no Avengers Tower, but they threw it in there just to have it in there. You know, what
it wasn't in the first one, right?
No, it was. Yeah.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah, it would be like in the first one, he would swing by and he'd be like, I guess they're always on the West Coast. I guess they're like the West Coast Avengers.
West Coast Avengers. Yeah.
I guess they're like the Great Lakes Avengers now. No, but yeah, like I don't think any other Marvel characters are ever gonna enter these games, and I'm totally fine with that.
Thinking just looking ahead, and I don't know what happens at the end of this game. Do you think there's obviously we have Venom. Do you think there's a Carnage possibility in the follow-up?
100%. I think 100%. I would go as far as to say, I would think 100% there is a Carnage tease at the end of this game. I mean, why would you not? You know what I mean? Even if it's just like a side villain or a DLC or something. You know what I mean? Because obviously they're not going to make another whole game based around another symbiote. You know what I mean? It's not like a movie where you can just like have at it. But I will say, man, when you get to Venom, dude is juicing. That guy.
I've seen images. I mean, I've seen those screenshots and stuff.
He is gnarly. He's wet. He's gross. He's like if you think this is gonna be like the Venom from the movie, that dude is like a contestant on the Great British Bake Off compared to this guy. Like this is Gordon Ramsay full Hell's Kitchen mode. Like,
now, do you know? Okay, real quick. Lastly. And again, maybe this is probably a spoiler, so don't say anything, I guess. Is Venom somebody, or is Venom just Venom? You know what I mean? I'm assuming he's probably someone to take the
I'll
form
just say Venom is not just Venom.
Okay, that's what I figured, yeah.
Some might even say that we are Venom.
Are Venom, yeah.
I will say, I just played that scene. I just played the first We Are Venom. And I was like,
okay. Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. Honestly, like there's some actually kind of terrifying moments in this game.
Really? Wow.
I would say, I mean, the first like kind of truly like Venom is unleashed like mission, pretty gnarly.
I was scared when I was MJ going through the tunnel, when I was trapped in the tunnel.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That was Peter.
Yeah, that was Peter. Last thing. Question I have for you is, as far as side missions go, have you completed any of them fully?
The Mysterio ones.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I've done
all the Mysterio ones.
I did all the Sandman ones.
Oh, you did all of the memory shards?
Yeah, I think there was only.
I don't even think there was 12.
Yeah, that's not that many.
So, yeah, that's true.
And I do also really quick like the fact when you go past things, it just kind of puts it on the map. Where it's like, oh yeah, you passed this. Oh, here it is.
Yeah, like hey, if you want to turn around, you can do that. Yeah, but
right.
I love that. Yeah.
So I finished that, and I finished all the Prowlers because I've always had fun doing those kind of like scan the environment.
Things,
yeah, I love those kind of things. So those were easy too. I think that was like 8 of them. Mysterio, I've done the least just because it's like, you start off doing it and then it gets like harder,
Yeah.
where it like makes them invisible. I'm like, I don't really need to.
Oh,
Can we just
keep hitting R3. You can just
Oh,
spam R3, and when you go into like the
okay.
detective like Spidey sense
Yeah.
vision, you can see them.
Oh,
I
okay.
just found that out because I did it. I was just like, I just hit that, and then I realized you can just keep fighting and just spam R3, and you can see him. But yeah, and if you press triangle, although if you've already done that, I'm assuming you already played it. But if you ever replay that one, like if you press triangle, you'll still zip to them and stuff. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to think if there's any other side missions or any other
I just really like it.
questions I have.
I just think it's very good.
Have you tried performance mode?
That's all I've been playing. Oh no, never mind. Yeah, I've only been playing on fidelity. After you said that, I think when I go downstairs, I think I'm gonna try it on performance.
Oh, and have you had any kind of bugs or anything?
I've had a lot actually.
Really?
Yeah,
I haven't had anything.
My game has crashed like 4 times.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't describe it as anything that like has hindered my experience at all.
Yeah.
Because it literally just crashes, and then I go, all right, let's go. You just hit send report.
Reloading too. It's like what, 10 seconds?
Dude, have you fast traveled yet?
No, because I'm Spider-Man.
No, I know. Yeah, the only thing that I fast travel to is like if I'm playing before work, like if I'm closing, and I'm like, all right, well let's fucking I'm in Harlem, and I gotta get to downtown Queens on the complete other side, and it goes, the little triangle pops up and it says 4,700 meters, and I'm like, all right.
Oh, I'm swinging that entire way. I'm going the entire way.
If you fast travel for the first time, dude, it is crazy. It is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
It's just instantaneous, and then it's just you just swing into frame or fly into frame, and you're just going. Like it's so awesome. It feels so cool. I also really like the Sandman opening. Well, in general, I really like that, but I like that it like kind of reminded me of Fortnite in a weird way, where like there's still sand all throughout the city. Like I'm so far into the game, and there's still sand everywhere. Like the cleanup was like realistic on that like there was like palm trees and stuff like by I really liked that. But that was a really cool fight.
Yeah,
and
my game runs.
Boss fights have health bars now too.
Agreed.
Yeah.
My game runs smooth as butter, no problems yet. And I hope none of them.
Well, there's the difference. I've been playing in fidelity every time.
Fair enough. I've been playing performance. Yeah. I'll tell you what, that has a crisp 60 FPS. I will tell you that. Assuming I don't think it has dropped. I feel like it's been like a constant 60. I could be wrong. But there was one other last thing I wanted to say. I can't remember. Do the miles. Sorry, the other side mission. Those miles like school missions.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish all of them yet.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I just did the one that was like asking, like helping with the homecoming proposal or whatever. I like.
Sorry. Did you do the Lost Grandpa?
Yes. Yeah. I did it as Miles. Did you do it as Peter?
Oh, I did it as Peter.
Okay, yeah, I did it as Miles, and I was like, damn, this is.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this game. I love these games because Insomniac really, even in Rift Apart, in the most recent Ratchet and Clank, like they put so much emotion into these stories for all their games. I really think just in general, the last thing I want to say is just in general, I think Insomniac is like killing it. Like just absolutely killing it. They've been okay relative to other studios with like release dates and stuff. Let's hope that Wolverine game is like crazy good. I really hope so. But yeah, I think that'll do it.
That'll do it.
All right, so if you've been joining us just for this Spider-Man 2 review, thank you guys so much for joining us. Let us know what you thought of the game down below. Have you finished it? How far are you? Do you agree with us? Do you think that the other 2 games are like way better than this one? Let us know. Do you think it was worth having to upgrade to the PS5 for this game? Let us know all that stuff down below. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this review. And thank you guys so much for joining us for this episode of PFN Live. It has been an honor and privilege, as it is every day here at the John Campius. No, that's a different show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. I have been one of your hosts, Sean Monk.
I've been your other host, TJ Cornwell. Thank you for watching. Please check us out on all our socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Let us know what you thought about any of the reviews or games or movies in the comments below. And we will see you next time.
Boom. And join us next time for our Halloween show. We're going to be talking about the entire franchise of Final Destination. Boom.